Years passed after the Accord fleet turned away from the orbital elevator. The solar system settled into a cold peace. Trade resumed under strict rules. Ships from Earth carried goods to Mars and back. Inspectors checked every crate. No weapons, no troops, no surprises. Mars grew richer. New domes rose higher. Underground cities expanded. Children born in low gravity learned to walk on red soil and dream under thin skies. Earth never forgot the sting. The Senate changed faces over time. New leaders rose. Old grudges faded into quiet talk. But the military remembered. They studied every recording from Phobos, from Valles Marineris, from the elevator stations. They built new plans. Not loud ones, not fast ones, patient ones. The chance came during a rare alignment. A comet passed close to Mars, rich in water ice and rare elements. Earth claimed salvage rights under an ancient convention. Mars disputed the claim. The comet would graze the atmosphere. Some would burn up. Some would hit open plains. Earth announced it would send a recovery fleet to collect fragments. A scientific mission, they said. Fully civilian, fully unarmed. Mars watched the approach. Sensors tracked 7 large haulers, escorted by 12 stealth destroyers. The destroyers carried marine contingents, heavy gear, drop pods. The haulers hid boarding craft and weapon pods under cargo bays. The plan was elegant. Use the comet as cover. Land recovery teams near key domes. Secure landing zones. Then declare the site's neutral zones under international law. Hold until Earth could negotiate from strength. Admiral Victor Kane led the operation. He was young for his rank. Sharp mind. No scars yet. He believed the Red Triangle teams were overrated. Myths built on surprise. This time there would be no surprise. The fleet arrived during a quiet Martian night. Pieces broke off and streaked across the sky like slow fireworks. The destroyers moved into position. Drop pods launched toward 3 main domes. Recovery teams followed in heavy landers. They touched down soft on the plains outside New Cydonia. Marines formed perimeters. Engineers set up portable scanners. They began collecting ice chunks. Everything looked peaceful. Then, the first Red Triangle team appeared. They came from underground tunnels no one knew existed. Small hatches opened in the regolith. Figures in blood-red uniforms rose like ghosts. They wore thermal cloaks that matched the cold dust. Visors dark. Rifles fitted with suppressors. They moved in squads of 6. No sound, no light. The first Marine perimeter vanished in under a minute. Shadows struck from behind rocks. Knives to throats. Silent takedowns. Bodies dragged into shallow craters. No shots fired. No alarms raised. Admiral Kane received the first garbled report. Unknown hostiles. Red markings. Losing squads fast. He stared at the tactical display. Dots blinked out one by one. Launch all reserves, he ordered. Secure the landing zones. More pods dropped. Hundreds of Marines poured out. They advanced in tight formations. They used drones for cover. They fired warning bursts into the air. The killers answered. Captain Sophia Larson led one of the main counter teams. She positioned her people along a low ridge. They waited until the Marines reached the open plain. Then they opened fire. Not wild, precise. Smart rounds found joints in armor. Knees, elbows, shoulders. Marines dropped screaming, but alive. The killers advanced. They zip-tied the fallen. They took weapons. They moved on. Major Matthew Brooks coordinated from a mobile command rover deep in a canyon. He watched feeds from helmet cams. His voice stayed low. Echo Team, collapse the east flank. Foxtrot, hold the central approach. Do not pursue beyond the perimeter. The battle spread across the plains. Marines pushed hard. They used mortars, They called in strafing runs from low-orbit shuttles. Explosions lit the night. Dust rose in thick clouds. The killers used the dust. They moved through it like fish in water. They flanked. They ambushed. They disappeared. Every time the Marines gained ground, a new team appeared behind them. Cut comms, cut power, cut lives. One Marine company reached the edge of New Cydonia Dome. They set breaching charges on the outer wall. Before the timers finished, figures dropped from above. Grapple lines from the dome rim. Killers landed among them. Hand to hand, knives against bayonets. The charges were disarmed. The company scattered. Sophia Larson fought in the center of it. She took a round to the leg. She kept moving. She directed fire. She pulled a wounded teammate to cover. She never stopped. By morning, the comet had passed. The plains were littered with disabled pods and empty armor. Marines sat in groups, hands bound. Guards in red uniforms watched them. No cruelty, just control. Admiral Kane sat on his bridge. Half his force was gone. The rest drifted without power. Small black devices hummed on key systems again. Reactors cold, weapons silent. A channel opened. Sophia Larson appeared on screen. Helmet off, face dirty, leg bandaged. "Your scientific mission is over," she said. "Your people will be returned. Your ships will leave. Do not come back." Victor looked at her. He saw the same calm he had seen in reports. No hate, no triumph, only duty. He gave the order. Full withdrawal. The remaining ships limped away. They carried their wounded. They left their dead under Martian soil. On the surface, cleanup began. Teams recovered gear, patched domes, honored the fallen. 23 killers lost their lives that night. Candles burned under the domes. Senator Olivia Grant stood on a balcony overlooking the city. She looked at the stars. "They keep coming," she said to no one. Matthew Brooks joined her. His uniform carried dust and blood. "They will stop eventually," he answered. "When they understand we mean it." Sophia limped up beside them. She leaned on a rail. "Or when they run out of people to send." Olivia smiled a little. Sad, tired, proud. The red planet turned beneath the stars. Quiet again, strong again. Children in schools learned the stories. Not just the old ones, the new ones too. They learned why Mars never sent soldiers. Because soldiers fight wars. Killers end them. And when the killers wear combat uniforms with a small red triangle over the heart, the lesson stays simple. Mars belongs to Martians. Anyone who forgets will remember. The hard way. Earth waited almost a year before trying again. The Senate learned from the failures. No more open fleets. No more hired mercenaries who could be broken in a single night. This time they chose something slower. Something that looked like diplomacy on the outside, but carried teeth underneath. They built a new alliance. Small nations on Earth that had stayed neutral before now joined quietly. They supplied ships and crews under a shared flag called the Solar Accord. The Accord claimed it wanted only fair trade rights, access to Martian helium mines, shared water rights from polar ice. They sent polite requests first, then stronger demands. When Mars refused again, the Accord announced joint military exercises near Deimos. Exercises that looked a lot like a blockade. 24 warships gathered, not carriers this time. Fast destroyers, stealth frigates, missile boats. They carried elite boarding teams trained for zero-gravity combat. The plan was clear to anyone who watched the feeds. Surround the main orbital elevator. Cut the cable links one by one. Force Mars to negotiate from weakness. If resistance came, board the stations and take control. Admiral Elena Ruiz led the Accord force. She was careful, methodical. She studied every report from the previous attempts. She knew about the Red Triangle units. She told her captains to expect traps, to move in tight formations, to scan every shadow. The fleet arrived at Martian orbit on a quiet cycle. No storm to hide in this time. Sensors swept clean. They found the orbital elevator cables intact. 3 stations hung along the line. Cargo platforms, passenger hubs, maintenance yards, all lightly guarded by automated drones and a handful of security teams. Elena gave the order. Boarding parties launch. Secure the stations. No damage to the cables unless necessary. Shuttles detached. They carried 60 fighters per station, cutting torches, breaching charges. They approached, slow and steady. The first shuttle reached Station Alpha. The docking arm extended. Clamps locked. The boarding team moved forward. Inside the station corridor, lights were dim. Air recyclers hummed soft. No alarms, no guards in sight. Then the floor panels shifted. Small charges popped. Not enough to blow hulls, just enough to send metal shards flying. 3 boarders dropped. The rest dove for cover. Return fire came from hidden slots in the walls. Precise, controlled. Smart rounds found gaps in armor. The team leader shouted, "Push forward." They advanced. They met resistance at every junction. Figures in blood-red uniforms appeared for seconds, fired, vanished. The corridors turned into a maze of death. Every turn held a new trap. Pressure doors slammed shut. Lights cut out. Gravity fluctuated in sections. On the bridge of the flagship, Elena watched the feeds. Losses climbed fast. Send reinforcements. Use the heavy breachers. More shuttles launched. They carried larger teams with powered exosuits. They forced their way in. Captain Sophia Larson waited in the central hub of Station Alpha. She stood behind a reinforced bulkhead. Her team flanked her. 10 killers, all calm, all ready. The breacher team blew the outer door. Sparks flew. Smoke filled the corridor. The exosuits stomped forward. Heavy rifles raised. Sophia gave a hand signal. Her team opened fire from 3 angles, converging streams of rounds. The lead exosuit staggered. Armor cracked. The others returned shots. Bullets ricocheted. 1 killer took a hit to the shoulder. He grunted, but kept firing. Sophia moved. She rolled low, came up behind a pillar, fired twice. 2 boarders fell. Her team pressed the advantage. They used the station layout they knew by heart. They funneled the attackers into narrow passages. They dropped ceiling panels on them. They cut power to sections and left the enemy blind. The fight lasted 40 minutes. The Accord boarding team broke. Survivors retreated to their shuttles. They left bodies behind. Weapons scattered. Similar scenes played out on the other stations. Major Matthew Brooks coordinated from a hidden command post on Deimos. He watched multiple feeds. His voice stayed even. Delta Team, collapse Section 7. Echo Team, flank right, hold the line. One by one the boarding attempts failed. The Accord lost over 200 fighters. Mars lost 19. The station stayed in Martian hands. The elevator cables remained untouched. Elena Ruiz stared at the casualty reports. Her face stayed hard. She opened a channel to Mars. "This is Admiral Ruiz. Your defense is noted. We will withdraw to discuss terms." The response came quick. A calm male voice, no name given. "Terms are simple. Leave our orbit. Do not return armed. The next fleet will not be allowed to leave." Elena closed the channel. She gave the retreat order. The warships turned. Engines burned. They pulled away slow. Back on the surface, people emerged from shelters again. They looked up. The sky stayed clear. No falling debris, no explosions, domes intact. In New Cydonia, Senator Olivia Grant met with her Security Council. The room was small, lights low. "How bad?" she asked. "Minimal structural damage," an aide answered. "We can repair in weeks. Olivia looked at the holomap. Red dots marked the Accord ships retreating. "They will try again," she said, "sooner or later." Major Matthew Brooks entered the room. His uniform carried fresh dust, a bandage on one arm. "They learned something today," he said. "They know we do not bluff." Sophia Larson followed him, her shoulder wrapped. She moved without complaint. Olivia looked at them both. "And the others?" Matthew gave a small nod. "It is what we do." That night, quiet ceremonies happened under the domes. Small groups gathered, names read, candles lit. No speeches, no tears in public, just respect. The red triangle patch became something more than cloth. It became a promise, a line in the dust that no one crossed twice. Earth's Accord alliance fractured after the failure. Nations pulled ships back, credits dried up. The Senate faced questions they could not answer. Why keep pushing a world that fought like this? In the quiet years that followed, Mars grew stronger. New domes rose, minds deepened, children learned history in schools. They learned about the days when Earth came asking for soldiers. They learned why the answer was no. They learned who answered instead. And they learned the most important lesson. Mars does not send soldiers to die for someone else's cause. Mars sends killers to live for its own. And those killers wear combat uniforms the color of dried blood, with a small red triangle over the heart. A reminder to everyone who looks. This world is ours. Try to take it. See what happens. Earth tried to bury the humiliation. Official statements spoke of a tactical withdrawal to avoid unnecessary loss of life. News channels showed calm admirals explaining the decision. Behind closed doors, the anger burned hot. The Senate wanted answers. The military wanted revenge. The public wanted to feel strong again. 3 months passed in uneasy quiet. Trade resumed at a trickle. Ships carry food and parts to Mars under strict inspection. No weapons, no troops. Mars accepted the shipments without comment. The red planet looked peaceful from space. Domes glowed soft at night. Rovers moved slow across the plains. Life continued. But Earth did not forget. A new plan formed in secret meetings under Cheyenne Mountain. No large fleet this time. No open invasion. Something quieter, smarter. They would use proxies, mercenary groups already active in the belt. Hard men and women who fought for credits. Earth offered them a fortune. The job was simple. Take key mining sites in the southern highlands. Hold them long enough for Earth to claim legal ownership under old treaty clauses. Once the sites flew Earth flags, the Senate could declare the area disputed and send real forces to protect it. The mercenaries called themselves Iron Fang. 300 fighters, veterans from a dozen small wars. They had fast assault ships, stealth coatings, heavy weapons. Their leader was Colonel Nathan Pierce. Tall, scarred face, voice like gravel. He took the contract without hesitation. "We hit fast," Nathan told his officers. "Land at night. Secure the Valles Marineris mines. No civilians, no unnecessary noise. In and out before their response teams wake up." The Iron Fang fleet slipped past Phobos under false transponders. They used a solar flare as cover. Sensors on Mars picked up nothing unusual. The ships dropped into atmosphere over the deep canyon. Landers touched down soft on rocky ledges. Teams moved out in black armor. They carried silenced rifles, explosive charges, night vision gear. They expected light security. Maybe a few automated turrets, maybe some local guards asleep. They found something else. The first team reached the main processing dome. They cut the outer lock. Inside, lights were low. Conveyor belts hummed soft. No workers in sight. The leader signaled advance. Then the shadows moved. Figures in blood-red uniforms stepped from behind machines. Visors dark. Rifles raised. No warning, no shout. Just precise bursts. 3 mercenaries dropped before they could react. The rest scattered, Return fire lit the dark. Bullets sparked off walls. The killers did not chase. They fell back. They sealed side doors. They waited. Nathan heard the report over comms. Contact. Heavy resistance. Unknown unit. Red markings. He cursed. Push through. We have numbers. More teams landed. They advanced in squads. They met the same response. Small groups of killers appeared and vanished. They struck from high ledges, from ventilation shafts, from behind cargo stacks. Each attack lasted seconds, then gone. Bodies left behind, weapons taken. No wounded dragged away. One mercenary squad reached the central control room. They blew the door. Inside stood Captain Sophia Larson, alone, helmet off, rifle at her side. Nathan's voice came over an open channel. Stand down. You are outnumbered. Sophia looked straight at the camera feed. You are on Martian soil. Leave now, or stay forever. The mercenaries charged. Sophia raised her rifle. One shot. The lead man fell. Then she moved. Fast. Low. She rolled behind a console. Shots followed her. She returned fire. 2 more dropped. From the vents above, more killers descended. Silent. They landed on the mercenaries' backs. Knives flashed. The room turned into chaos. Screams cut short. Bodies hit the floor. Outside the dome, the canyon lit with muzzle flashes. Iron Fang pushed hard. They used grenades. They called in air support from their landers. Explosions rocked the walls. The killers answered with traps. Hidden charges collapsed ledges. Rock slides buried squads. EMP bursts killed comms and night vision. Teams found themselves blind and deaf in the dark. Major Matthew Brooks coordinated from a forward post high on the canyon rim. He watched drone feeds. His voice stayed calm. Alpha Team, flank left. Bravo, hold the ridge. Charlie, drop the secondary charges. The battle stretched through the night. Iron Fang had better numbers at first, but the killers knew every crack and tunnel. They used the terrain like a weapon. They never stood still. They never fought fair. By dawn, half the mercenaries were dead or captured. The rest retreated to their landers. Engines roared. Ships lifted. Sophia Larson stood on a high ledge. She watched them climb. Her uniform had fresh scars. Blood on one sleeve. Not hers. She spoke into her comm. All teams report. Clean sweeps. Minimal losses. Sites secure. Nathan Pierce sat in his command lander. He looked at empty seats. He had lost over 100 people in one night. He sent a final message to his Earth contact. Mission failed. Opposition unknown. Highly trained. Recommend no further attempts. The landers broke orbit. They limped back toward the belt. On Mars, the dust settled. Teams cleared bodies. They patched domes. They returned to Facility Zero. They cleaned weapons. They rested. Senator Olivia Grant received the report in New Cydonia. She read it twice. How many did we lose? She asked. 7, her aide answered. All in the first hour. The rest held. Olivia closed her eyes for a second, then opened them. No parades. That evening, people gathered in small groups under the domes. They lit candles. They spoke names. They remembered. Earth received the news through back channels. The Senate went silent again. No new proxies. No loud threats. Only cold calculation. The red triangle became more than a patch. It became a warning whispered across the solar system. Do not come to Mars looking for a fight. Because Mars does not send soldiers. It sends killers. And killers do not stop until the job is done. Months later, a child in a school dome asked her teacher why the sky stayed quiet now. The teacher smiled soft. Because someone learned the hard way. Mars keeps what is hers, and she keeps it well. The child nodded. Outside the dome, the red world turned slow under the stars. Quiet. Strong. Waiting. The news from Phobos Station reached Earth in under 10 minutes. Screens in the Geneva Command Center showed frozen feeds. Admiral Daniel Cole sat in his chair on the flagship carrier. His hands gripped the armrests tight. Around him, officers moved fast. They tried to restart systems. They sent emergency codes. Nothing answered. On Mars, the red dust storm still raged outside the domes. Inside New Sidonia, people watched private screens. Some whispered prayers. Others stood silent. Senator Olivia Grant remained in the Senate chamber. She looked at the live drone feed from the equatorial port. Earth Marines lay in neat rows between cargo crates. Not many dead, just enough to make the point. The rest sat with hands bound behind them. Killers in blood-red uniforms walked among them. They checked weapons. They scanned for threats. They moved like they had done this 1,000 times. How many of ours are hurt? None so far, the aide answered. They hit only armed units, civilians untouched. Olivia nodded once. Good. Keep the channels open. No broadcasts yet. Let Earth speak first. In orbit, the fleet drifted. Power stayed off on most ships. Lights flickered weak on emergency batteries. Marines on the carriers tried to arm themselves. Doors would not open. Elevators stayed locked. The killers had left small devices on key systems. Tiny black boxes that hummed soft. They blocked commands. They kept weapons cold. They let life support run. Nothing more. Captain Sophia Larson stood on the bridge of the lead carrier. She had taken it without firing a shot. Her team moved through corridors like ghosts. They zip-tied officers. They collected sidearms. They left the crew in the mess hall under guard. Sophia looked at the main viewport. Mars glowed red below. Phobos looked small beside it. She spoke into her helmet comm. Team leaders report. Voices answered one by one. All ports secure. All transports neutralized. Fleet command elements under control. No losses on their side. Sophia removed her helmet. Blonde hair stuck to her forehead with sweat. She looked at Admiral Cole. Your people will not be harmed if they stay calm, she said. We only want you gone. Daniel stared at her. You think this ends here? Earth has more fleets. Sophia gave a small shrug. Then send them. We will be waiting. She turned to her second. Prep the return shuttles. Leave minimal guards, enough to keep order. The killers began to pull back. They left Earth personnel locked in sealed sections. They took no prisoners back to the surface. They left no messages carved in metal. They only left the red triangle symbol, painted on a few bulkheads. Small, clean, clear. The stealth landers rose from the ports. They slipped back into the dust storm. They vanished from sensors again. The fleet above stayed dark and quiet. Hours passed. Then the black boxes shut off one by one. Power returned slow. Lights came up. Engines hummed. Weapons stayed offline. Navigation worked. A single message appeared on every command screen. Mars is sovereign. Do not return without invitation. Daniel read the words 3 times. He gave the order to withdraw. The fleet turned. Engines flared. They left Martian orbit behind. On the surface, people started to come out of shelters. They walked streets under domes. They looked up at the sky. No ships fell. No bombs dropped. The storm cleared. Stars appeared bright against the black. In Facility 0, Major Matthew Brooks stood in the armory. His teams returned one group at a time. They cleaned weapons. They checked armor. They spoke in low voices. Some laughed quiet. Others stayed silent. They had done their job. They had protected their home. He felt no joy, only relief. He knew Earth would not forget this day. He knew more ships might come someday. He knew his people would be ready again. Captain Sophia Larson walked past him. She carried her rifle slung over one shoulder. Clean up, she said. Matthew nodded. Clean as it gets. She stopped. Think they learned? He looked at the row of red triangle uniforms hanging on racks. Some will, some won't. We only need to remind the ones who forget. Sophia gave a small smile. Then we keep reminding. Back in New Sidonia, Senator Olivia Brandt finally stepped outside the chamber. People waited in the main plaza. Families, workers, children, they looked at her. She spoke into a public mic, her voice carried across the dome. We asked for peace. They asked for our blood. We gave them neither. Mars stands free. Our people stand safe. That is all that matters. Cheers rose. Not wild. Steady. Proud. That night, lights stayed on late, in homes. Parents told children the story. Not the scary parts. The true parts. How a small world said no. How quiet people in plain uniforms answered for them all. Earth received the fleet back in damaged pride. The Senate met in closed session. Voices argued loud. Some called for full invasion. Others spoke of cost, lives, ships, reputation. In the end, they chose silence. Sanctions stayed, trade slowed, but no new fleet launched. Rumors spread through the solar system. Miners in the belt whispered about the Red Triangle teams. Traders on Luna spoke of killers who moved like wind. Pirates thought twice before raiding Martian cargo runs. In the asteroid belt, the rebels who started it all heard the news. They sent a quiet message to Mars. Thank you. Mars sent nothing back. They did not need thanks. They only needed to be left alone. The red planet healed its small scars. Domes repaired. Ports cleaned. Life returned to normal. Children played in low-gravity parks. Farmers checked hydroponic fields. Engineers built new tunnels. Deep under Hellas, the facility stayed quiet. Lights dimmed again. Teams trained in shadows. They waited. Because freedom is never given, it is kept. And Mars kept it with killers in combat uniforms, not soldiers. In the year 2163, Mars had stood on its own for 38 years. The red planet no longer answered to Earth like a child. It had its own government, its own laws, its own people who had been born under thin air and weak gravity. They called their world the Martian Republic. Earth still called it a colony. That difference in names caused trouble more than once. Earth faced a serious problem far from home. Rebel groups in the asteroid belt had taken control of key mining stations. Those stations supplied rare metals needed for ship engines and weapons. Without them, Earth's fleet would soon sit dead in space. The Senate in Geneva voted quickly. They activated an old treaty clause. Every world under Earth's protection must send troops when asked. Mars had signed that treaty decades earlier. Now Earth demanded 10 full divisions, 30,000 trained soldiers, heavy armor, support ships, all within 30 days. The Martian Senate gathered in the domed hall of New Sidonia. The air smelled faintly of recycled oxygen and dust. Senator Olivia Grant took the speaker's stand. She was small, but carried herself tall. Her dark hair had silver threads. Her eyes were steady. "We will not send soldiers," she said. The room stayed quiet at first. Then voices rose. Some agreed. Some worried. A young representative named Lucas Hayes spoke up. "Earth will see this as rebellion. They will come for us." Olivia looked straight at him. "Let them come. We built this world with our hands. Our children breathe this air. We will not bleed for Earth's wars anymore." The vote took less than an hour. Every hand rose in favor. No soldiers would leave Mars soil. Earth reacted fast. First came angry messages. Then trade ships stopped arriving. Prices for food and medicine climbed. Then the real threat arrived. A fleet gathered in high Earth orbit. 6 carriers, 24 cruisers, dozens of troop transports. The ships carried the best Marines Earth could field. They were ready to enforce the treaty the hard way. Admiral Daniel Cole commanded the fleet. He was a tall man with a sharp jaw and a voice that cut through noise. He sent one final broadcast to every screen on Mars. "This is Admiral Cole of the United Earth Navy. Your refusal ends now. Open your orbital ports for docking. Allow our transports to land. Provide the requested divisions. Failure to comply will be met with necessary force." Mars sent no reply. That same night, deep under the Hellas Basin, lights came on in tunnels few people knew existed. Facility Zero had been built during the early independence years. It looked like any other maintenance depot from the surface. Below ground, it held something different. Major Matthew Brooks walked the main corridor. He wore a plain gray uniform with no rank pins. Men and women passed him in silence. They nodded once. No salutes, no small talk. Their eyes were calm and focused. They had trained for years in these same tunnels. They had run drills in freezing canyons. They had practiced in low gravity until their bodies moved like machines. Matthew stopped at a heavy blast door. He pressed his palm to the scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside stood 300 figures. They wore combat uniforms the color of dried blood. Thick but light armor plates covered vital areas. Helmets had dark visors that showed nothing of the face beneath. Each person carried a short-barreled rifle loaded with smart rounds. Knives hung at their belts, grenades clipped to chest rigs, pistols in thigh holsters. No unit patches, no national flags. Only a small red triangle stitched over the heart. These were not conscripts pulled from farms or cities. These were volunteers who had chosen this path. They trained until pain became normal, until hesitation disappeared, until killing became a skill like breathing. Matthew looked at them. His voice stayed low and even. "Earth wants our people to die in their war. They want our minds. They want our water and air. We say no. Tonight we show them what no really means." He paused. "You know the standing orders. Protect domes and civilians. No unnecessary deaths. But any armed force that lands on our world is fair game. End the threat. Do it clean. Do it fast." Captain Sophia Larson stood in the front row. She was tall with short blonde hair tucked under her helmet. She had led teams in border skirmishes with rogue miners. She never wasted words. "Insertion method?" she asked. "Stealth landers. Dust storm cover. We hit Phobos first, then the fleet transports, then the surface beachheads if they try to land." She nodded once. The teams moved without delay. They boarded small black landers, shaped like arrowheads. No running lights. Engines tuned to whisper. They slipped out through hidden launch tubes. The surface storm raged above. Red dust blocked sensors. The landers rose into the storm and vanished from every scan. Phobos Station orbited close and slow. It served as the main gateway for incoming ships. Earth Marines had already secured the docking arms. They expected maybe light resistance from station security. They did not expect shadows. The first team cut through an unused maintenance hatch. They moved in pairs, silent boots on metal floors. One Marine patrol turned a corner. 4 figures appeared behind them. Knives flashed in dim light. The patrol dropped without a sound. No screams, no alarms. On the command deck, Admiral Cole stared at blank screens. His officers tried to reboot systems. Nothing worked. Then the blast doors opened. Sophia Larson stepped inside, her rifle pointed low but ready. "Your fleet is dark," she said. "Reactors on carriers are offline. Transports are locked. Weapons are cold. You have one chance to stand down." Daniel looked at the woman in the blood-red uniform. He saw no rage in her eyes, only calm purpose. He spoke into his comm. "All ships, cease operations. Stand down." The order echoed across the fleet. On the Martian surface, the first Earth landing craft touched regolith near the main equatorial port. Marines poured out. They formed defensive lines. They expected conscript militia or maybe nothing at all. Instead, figures in dark armor moved between cargo crates. They struck without warning. A squad vanished in under 30 seconds. Rifles taken. Bodies left in neat rows. No blood spray. No chaos. Just absence. An Earth lieutenant tried to call for backup. His radio hissed static. A shadow rose behind him. A gloved hand covered his mouth. A knife pressed once. The lieutenant fell. By first light, the port belonged to Mars again. Their crews waited inside sealed holds under guard. In New Sidonia, Senator Olivia Grant watched the live feeds. She did not cheer. She only breathed out slowly. "They asked for soldiers," she said to the empty room. "We sent killers instead." The red triangle on those uniforms became a new symbol overnight. Mars had refused.